Probably listen to the Queen of Soul all day, but I guess we got to get to our work. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Cycle one of from Kansas City, Icy Stars. I am so pleased and honored to be able to deliver this session to you. The music that we were listening to was Respect by Aretha Franklin. It was suggested by Sarah. And let's see, Sarah, could you unmute yourself and tell us why you picked that song? Welcome everyone to the first session of Civics 101. I'm your instructor, Tom Tresser. I'm based in Chicago. We want to explain a little bit about the class this morning and then get into it. What we're going to cover this morning is going to be why are we doing civics at all? And then we're going to start talking about how civic engagement breaks down. And we'll be using small groups here. So we'll be putting you into small groups to share and then report back. I will share my screen and show you some of the resources that we've made available for you. So the first thing is you have a website. And I think you can see it. Can you see the screen? It says Civics 101. Thumbs up if you see the screen. Awesome. So here is the URL for this resource. And so what is here is you can see I've been doing this with Icy Stars for 10 years. And so here are the record of prior classes, which you can free to check out. There's lots of stuff here. But the space that we set up for this class is right here. And it's the link is in the chat. The schedule for the classes are here on this page. So we have 4 classes, and you'll see some other links here. If you forget the Zoom link, it's on this page. Also, a link to your assignment is here, as well as a link to my Calendly application in case you'd like to book a half an hour to talk about civics or anything that we raise in this class. You just click on that link and book a half an hour, and we'll do it by Zoom. And that invitation will be open through the next 4 to 5 weeks. Also on this page, in a few days, you'll see the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to give you today. That'll be here, as well as the video. Since this is Zoom land, this is being recorded. And then this little video of our class will be placed here as well, in case you want to revisit anything, as well as anything that we hand out or any collective work via Zoom or what we call jam boards, anything like that, chats, all that documentation will be here on this web page for you. All right. So we're going to meet for 2 hours for this Friday, today, and next Friday. Then we're going to take a break for Thanksgiving, return for final 2 Fridays, ending on December 8th. The last class will be 3 hours. We'll try to pace this so that we'll take a break, bio break, about 1 hour into the class for 5 minutes. Please be on the lookout for a formatted HTML from tom@tresser.com that will come to you a few days after each class, which will have a preview of the next class, as well as any fun things that we brought up in this class. So a lot of times the interns bring up things I can't cover and I can't respond to, but they're great points. So I like to take note of them and then send you some resources in that HTML newsletter. So that follows every class. Now, there will be an assignment, and I hope that Gustavo explained a little bit about that to you. What we're going to ask you to do today, as you did in your introductions, and by the way, thank you all for going online and completing the introductions. It's really helpful to me to get to know you a little better. I asked you what your burning issue was, and there's been a lot of thoughtful responses to that. You're going to share that with your fellow interns in a few minutes, but your assignment will be based on that burning issue. And we're going to ask you to do a presentation to your fellow interns on the last day of class, December 8th. You'll have 6 minutes to make this presentation, and you'll be required to produce a PowerPoint presentation that will have a few elements in it. And all this is explained in detail here. I'll put this link in the chat as well. So again, and these links are on the home page of the class website. So if you lose track of this, it's always there for you. But basically, your presentation will have the following elements. First, your name and cycle number. Then what is your burning issue? And you'll try to be as clear about that as possible. You can use images if you like to bring it to life for us. And then we're going to ask you to look for data. So I call this data porn, but it's visualizations, it's graphs, it's things on the internet that have been put there, usually by different sorts of social justice organizations or policy think tanks, that explains what the trend is, how bad is it for this issue that you're speaking of. So for example, I think someone in the cycle is interested in mass incarceration and the justice system. So if that's the case, you would show me perhaps trends of who's incarcerated over time, maybe America versus other countries, perhaps biracial disparities or other ways to explain what is so crazy about this issue called mass incarceration. Part of what we're trying to see is what will happen if the issue is not addressed. So that tends to be shown through trend lines as we see something moving through time. And so you're free to do a few of those, at least 2. And then I'm going to ask you to find 3 organizations that are working on this issue. That being a group in Kansas City, a group that's working on the policy aspect, and they can be located anywhere, and then a group that's in your face doing street work, really, really aggressive community organizing over this issue. So you'll find 3 of those groups. Perhaps you'll share their homepage with us, the URL, in case anyone wants to check them out. But the heart of the assignment, and this is where I want you to use your creativity, is how will you solve the pressing issue that you have identified? And you can take a few slides to do that. Again, images are helpful. And again, this is an exercise in your civic imaginations. All right, that's the assignment. We'll return to it next session in case you have any questions. And the information, again, is all online for you. All right, now I'd like to do some introductions. I'm going to explain a little bit about who the heck I am, how I came before you today. And then we're going to turn the mic over to you guys and ask you to unmute and identify yourself, where you stay, and what your burning issue is. Okay? And that's how we'll get to know each other, perhaps a little differently than the way you've been interacting and working together so far. So first, let me say my name is Tom Trusser. I'm a civic educator and public defender. And I hope that as we get to know each other, you'll understand what does exactly that mean. I'm not a lawyer. I don't work in the courts. But the word public for me is very, very important. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in this class. So I put my URLs and stuff in the chat so you can check out my work. But I'm going to show you a little PowerPoint presentation that's on the class homepage. All right. And it's right here. And there we are. Okay, can we see that? There's my kisser right there. Everybody can see that slide? Yes, thumbs up. Thank you. All right, so there are my contact information. So I have a bit of an unusual background as a civics instructor. I started out as an actor, and then I became a theater producer. And I was very successful here in the city of Chicago, one of the most successful small theater producers in a long time. You can see the picture there of people in a swimming pool. That's a musical by Stephen Sondheim called The Frogs that we actually did in an Olympic pool at Truman College here in Chicago. But then I worked for a place called People's Housing, which built and maintained affordable housing in the north part of our city. And I became the operator of our community arts program. So I was working with neighbors and other creative people in the community to create arts and culture and training programs that combined the arts with microenterprise. So we had a open mic, we published a newspaper, we had a talent show, we had a radio show. We produced an album from the community and sold the album. We produced crafts and sold the crafts. So there were a combination of I guess you could say economic and cultural development in people's housing. I had a stint at a startup, an internet startup back in 1999. That was Ace Hardware's online play. It was called ourhouse.com. And so I was maybe the 16th hire in marketing and in sales. And we burned through about $130 million. And all I have to show for it is this watch right here. There you go. There's the logo. You can see the logo, Our House. Right now, if you type in ourhouse.com, you'll be taken to Amazon's tool shed. So Amazon bought what was left of our company after we flamed out, burned through $130 million. That's another conversation I'm happy to have with you at some other time. You can always hit me up with the Calendly, and we can talk about what was it like to be in an internet startup back in the day when everyone thought they were going to be gazillionaires. But nevertheless, I've been an educator and an instructor for many years, and I've been working at Icy Stars for 10 years. I was born in New York City, and I've started or led 14 nonprofits. So we all know that Icy Stars is a nonprofit, right? Not show of heads. Yes. Okay. That's a separate class I teach. We don't have time to cover it. But if you're interested in talking about nonprofits, just hit me up offline and we can talk about that. But I have started or led 14. I teach nonprofit management at several local universities. And nonprofits are a big deal in America. And you are now getting the benefits of one such nonprofit called Icy Stars. And it's different, obviously, than a business or a for-profit business, or the kind of thing where you go to the store to buy a carton of milk or buy a CD or buy a new Apple phone. Nonprofits have a completely different structure and output. My hobbies are photography, history, science fiction, and I've been married for 32 years to this powerhouse right here. She looks small, but don't let that fool you. She's one of the most powerful people I've ever known. That's my wife, Merle. Now, here are the classes I have taught over the years. Again, that's just part of this presentation. You can look at it later. But basically, I sort of cover the waterfront when it's about civics, democracy, leadership, creativity, community organizing, things of that nature. These are the groups I've started, including the Civic Lab, which is now a Black-led nonprofit here based in Chicago. Some of the civic projects I've worked on. I published a book called Chicago is Not Broke, Funding the City We Deserve. So one of my specialties in civics is civic money. I'm very fascinated and very, I think it's important for people to understand where the money flows, who gets the money, who doesn't get the money. Here's the Civic Lab itself. It was a co-working space I operated for 2 years in the West Loop. 16 groups work there every day, and you can get a sense of the vitality, what was happening as these groups met and worked together. The physical space closed, but the nonprofit still lives. Myself and my colleagues have trained over 5,000 people in civics, how to organize, how to run for office, how to fight oppression. So we do quite a bit of training around that. And I have a book coming out next spring called No Game Chicago, How a Small Group of Citizens Derailed the city's 2016 Olympic bid. So if you're interested in kind of a little bit of history of Chicago and how you can say no to City Hall, I can encourage you to take a look at this website, nogameschicago.com. It's in the chat. And you can see a little bit of the work that we did. Now, that was, I say, back in 2008 and 2009. And the book is coming out next spring. I'm asking everyone to share their burning issue, and I'll share with you what is mine. Economic injustice. I had to put it into one sentence, one short sentence. It's that. And then finally, I'll just share one fun fact with you. I used to be a hippie. So long ago. Look at all that hair on that guy. Okay. That was me back in the day. All right. Now, let's turn the tables on to you. Now, I see someone without a name, ICK202, CO2 in the upper left. So ICK, would you go first, please, and just introduce yourself, say where you stay, and what your burning issue is.
Hi, my name is Cecilia. I'm sorry I didn't put that in there. I am from Kansas City, Missouri. I stay probably up north in that city in the region, and my burning issue, honestly, when I filled out the form, I didn't have one. Sorry if you can hear my child in the background, but I didn't have a burning issue.
Okay.
I wanted to help any way I could help, but I was looking over different things and issues after we did the survey, and I think mental health would be a really important one for me. So I think
Great.
that would be my answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kaja, how about you?
It's pronounced Tasia.
Kaja.
My name is Tasia Strickland. I'm from Kansas City. I live in Lee Summit, and my burning issue was school to prison pipelines.
Got it. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Everybody knows what she means, right? That it's why it seems like our young people are being funneled from places of learning to places of incarceration instead of going on into life and prospering. So I get that when you say that. I just want to make sure everybody else does. Valeria.
Hi, I'm Valeria Hernandez Garcia, and my burning issue was racial inequality. Yeah, it's really important to me as a first generation immigrant.
Got it. And let's see, now to your right, we have another ICKC12 with a very fine hair bonnet or hair piece.
Hi, my name is Zoya Maverick. I stay in Kansas City. I'm like about 5 minutes from the plaza. And my burning issue was corruption in the foster care system.
Okay, and it was Zoya, was it? Did I get that?
Yes, Zoya Maverick.
Got it. Thank you. All right. And I encourage everyone to sort of keep their ears open to see if there's any themes or like what I would say connective tissues, through some of these issues and concerns that people have. And I'm already beginning to detect maybe there is a bit of a theme. So let's see. Let's keep going. Alan.
How you doing this afternoon?
Great.
Alan Edwards, Kansas City, Missouri. Burning issue would be the process that they handle our national crisis. So like hurricanes, national disasters, the recovery reform look.
Got it. Chicago is fortunate that we don't have a lot of that. We get severe weather, but we're getting more flooding in some of our communities than we ever had before. But thank goodness we don't get to experience what some other parts of our country have with these tornadoes and severe floods and fires. So we're reading about it, but we're not personally experiencing that kind of level of calamity. Don Shea, how about you?
Hi, I'm Don Shay Sanborn, from Kansas City, Missouri. My burning issue is the mental health and life structure of children of homicide victims
Hmm.
and the food deserts.
Did you say food desert?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that is a theme that has come up in several of our sessions over the years. And when you say food desert, can you say what that means?
Well, I know that urban communities have a lack in getting nutritional foods and snacks.
Mhm.
We in Kansas City, they have been pushing more of like vegetables and fruits in local gas stations. So they've been changing it, but it's not really changed because those don't get changed out as often as they should. But also there's a lot of places around the world where technology could help get them food and get them water and things of that nature.
Got it. Well, that's another theme that we're going to see as people reveal and discuss their issues. Since you are technologists and learning and training, it's a natural thing to think about how can technology help? Is it possible? How would technology help in these issues? And could it bring some relief? Could technology help in some material way? And I think many times with some thought, the answer is yeah, it could. Isaiah,
Hello, I'm Isaiah Adkins. I'm from Kansas City, and my burning passion is how pollution is destroying our ecosystem and ruining our oceans.
okay. Well, there was just an interesting show on A&E called The Swarm.
Mm,
For those of you who are science fiction fans and also nature fans, check The Swarm out because it was creepy and it was all about the ocean fighting back.
okay,
Ocean
I'll
had
check it
enough
out.
of us. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Erin,
My burning issue is the murder of young Black women after domestic violence.
hear that. Domestic violence, a lot upon the country. Um, okay, thank you for sharing that. Philip.
Hello, Brandon. From Kansas City, Missouri. My burning issue is gun violence and gun control.
Mhm. Yes, sadly, we can't seem to get our arms around that. Huge issue, huge issue. Okay, and then someone with a long URL, Zoom C1, uh, and got headphones on. That's you. Hello.
Okay. All right. I'm Brenda Ross, from Kansas City, Missouri, and my burning is um, women stress work, women and stress from the
Got it.
workplace. Get it out. Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mitchell.
Hello, my name is Mitchell Young. I'm also from Kansas City, Missouri, and my burning issue is homeless veterans.
Hmm. Yes, we've had a few veterans in our classes over the years. Many people have served, and then they feel like the country isn't taking care of them. You put their life at risk, for the various services they offered, and come home with different problems that sadly get unaddressed. Thank you for sharing that. And then Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Carbino. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and my burning issue is the racial injustices of people of color, especially in relation with law enforcement. So,
Hmm.
like racial profiling, excessive use of force, discrimination, a lot of things. I could
Mhm.
go on and on.
I hear you. A big issue here in Chicago, naturally, where a few years ago a young black teenager was shot, murdered, dead by a police officer who, was sent to prison. It was the first time in maybe 50 years that a police officer was accused, tried, and convicted. It shook the city. I don't think the city really hasn't gotten over it, to tell you the truth. Um,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that needs to be aired out for sure, not just obviously in our two cities, but in many other places. Okay, well, thank you all for digging deep and sharing with your colleagues these things that are very important to you. Now, this is not really the purpose of IC Stars, obviously, to deal with technology and to train you up and get you placed and get you a good living, and then also to go forward and to be present in your communities. But it's connected, and I hope that you'll see that the things that you're sharing and that we're going to talk about are very relevant to your time at IC Stars. So now I'd like to turn the question back to the class and to ask you the question of why do civics? So I mean, you know, maybe you've had a discussion about this already as you were being introduced to this session. But what we're going to do now is we're going to break you up into 4 groups of 3 each. I think that's going to work. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that'll work perfectly. 4 groups of 3 each, and you will have 5 minutes to discuss amongst yourselves why. What's so big about this civic stuff? Why is it important? Why would we want to pursue this? And I'm going to ask you to share your insights on a Google shared doc, which I will also put into this chat right now. So you want to click on this link. So it just appeared. Why do civics? Click on that link so it renders the page on your computer, and then you can take some notes, share your thoughts. Please do put the names of everyone in your group on that shared document. And then here we go. So let me go into the little control board here. Breakout rooms. We will create 4 breakout rooms. And boom. So that works. Okay. So you'll have 5 minutes. Now, if you have any questions or problems, all you have to do is leave your breakout room and you'll show up on my screen and you can tell me if there's an issue or if you have a question. And then once you're done, I can send you back into your breakout room. I'm sure you've done this before. This is nothing new. All right, my friends, here you go. About 5 minutes. All right, we're coming back from our small groups. Thank you so much. I see the Google Shared Doc is filling up with insights. Awesome. And I will share the screen so you can see what your colleagues have put up here. Okay. Superb. Everyone can see the shared Google document? Yep. Cool. Okay. So we'll need a reporter from each group to share the insights. Why do civics? Okay. Group 1. What do you got?
One thing about our group is that some of us did agree that it was hard to pick a burning issue because there's just so many. And I picked racial injustice because I feel like it's kind of an umbrella. And yeah, so it was kind of hard for us to pick one, but as you guys can see from our notes, everyone in our group was really passionate about it. So we talked about how it's not just about, you know, your community, but it relates to the world really.
Mm-hmm.
These issues are not only affecting our community, but they're affecting the world. And the importance for all of us was you need to speak up so your voice can be heard, and if people are speaking up, we can make a change. One of us did say that it's really important because you need to understand the government, and how it was phrased is, understand the government and its structure because it can save you. And I think that was pretty that was a strong sentence.
Great.
Strong message.
Thank you. Group one, you covered a lot of important points, and you sort of giving us a preview of where our class is going when we're done with this discussion. You raised the question of what should we know? Stuff you should know, and I see there, know your rights. You can be chumped, right, easily if you don't know what your rights are. That doesn't say that knowing your rights is an inoculation against having them abused, but it's important to know what your rights are. Absolutely. And I can see here that you say to foster deep thought and build a sense of responsibility. Also a very important point, this idea that we're kind of in this together. And when we understand this thing about civics, I maybe understand how we're connected, you and I, even though I may not look like you, I may not even live near you, but what I'm taking away from your comments are we are connected, and that's awesome. There's a lot more here, but let's see what group two comes up with. Group two, what do you got? Someone from group two, Alan or hello.
Brenda, Mitch, y'all got a problem with me speaking, or y'all want to speak on it?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, my first thing is, how do we become the anonymous buffalo?
I'm sorry?
Our name is the anonymous buffalo?
You got me there.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we decided we needed to figure out what exactly the study of civics was about.
Okay.
So once we looked up the actual definition of it, we come to the agreement before we start running head first in anything. We need to be mindful of what our burning issues are and why they are, and how we're going to use them when we get to where we're going. And to remember the effects of whatever we put into place is going to affect those behind us. So, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Message came through.
Does anybody else from group two want to add? I see some good Go ahead.
I didn't get to finish typing it, but I was just like putting like the importance of civics is just like, to me, it's just basically just knowing all of the issues going on in the world and just being able to have that knowledge of what's going on in the world, locally, globally, all that, and just be able to like use your knowledge to know how to protect yourself, basically.
Right. So get smart on these important issues so you can do something.
Yes, like a cause and effect.
Yeah.
Know the cause so you can know how to have an effect on it.
Cause and
If you
effect.
can. Yes.
Okay. So it could be that someone has experienced an injustice or some kind of heart hurt, and you want to know, where did that come from? Is it your fault? And then when you start to examine some of these issues, you begin to see the cause lies far away from you and happens before you even got born. And these kinds of insights are important for us to understand how to move through the world in a public way. Okay, group three. What do you got?
Yeah, that came to the conclusion that we really ain't know too much about civics. So, when we looked it up, basically it was that so we could be better members of our community and contribute more in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way that you'll be a better member is by being present, by being smart about the community, but then doing something. So you may see like there's an empty lot across from your house that's full of garbage, and old garbage and stuff, you know? So how would we fix that, how do we take care of that, that vacant lot? So Philip might say, you know what, I'm going to go get a shovel and I'm going to get some rakes and whatnot. And I'm going to put up some flyers. It just bothers me. I don't want to look at that anymore. And that may be all on your mind. That's all it is. You're not talking about being Martin Luther King or anything. It's just like, I'm going to get rid of that eyesore that's in front of my house. And you talk to your friends, and the next thing you know, you're at your church and you're mentioning it, and someone says, you know what, that bothers me too, Phil. So you know what? Let's like do something. Like, how about Saturday? Let's all get together and I'll bring my barbecue, and I'll make some chicken or something, and then we can, take care of this. And next thing you know, you got like 5 or 6 people, and then people are walking by, like, what's going on here? And someone brings a jukebox or a boombox, whatnot, and all of a sudden there's some music playing, and people are working, and then another lady comes by and goes, you know what? I have some tomato seeds. I've been looking for a place to plant them. You mind if I put these seeds in here? And before you know it, what started out as kind of just Philip's pain in the butt that he just got annoyed becomes a thing. And all of a sudden, you're a leader and you're working with people and you're working with purpose. And so now to get that done, maybe someone had to figure out, well, can we just plant in this soil, or is it full of garbage or gasoline? Or someone might have to do some research. Then someone might have to do some other research and says, well, who owns this land? Can we just do anything we want to it, or we got to do some so now you're getting smart in other ways that maybe you hadn't anticipated. And that's the beautiful thing about this kind of work that we're speaking about. It starts with you personally, with where you live, with what's on your mind, with what burns your bridges, as it were, what pisses you off, and we move from there. Gustavo, hello. Would you like to say anything to the cycle? We just started jumping in here, and we're discussing why do civics.
No. I want to apologize. Thank you for the reminder. I've been in other meetings and just trying to catch up.
Okay.
So I'm glad you guys have started the ball rolling. So I'm happy to see the engagement. So.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll finish up this part of the conversation with Group 4. There's a lot here that you put on your Group 4. What do you got?
So, being that civics is about studying the rights and trying to understand the problem, we chose a lot of stuff that crossed over, like community building, social responsibility. Is basically understanding something and letting people know the problem. A lot of these points relate, but it's important to understand the problem before we can try to fix it. So that's why a lot of our stuff is building awareness and trying to impact the community better.
Nice. Yes. So you're going to see that in this work, to be a learner, to be a fact gatherer is important. So as an organizer, you got to know stuff. You have to know your community. So if I say, someone, Taja, where you live, you say, well, I live on 133rd Street. And I ask you, well, tell me more. Like, how deep can you go? Can you tell me education rates, income rates? Can you tell me the crime rates? I mean, you may know a lot of stuff just because you live there, right? You may know, hey, here's a great place to go get a drink. Here's a good park. You may know a lot of stuff like that. But do you know the data? Let's call it the data, the demographics of the community that you would need to know if you were going to try to be a problem solver. Okay, all this is good stuff here, and I will stop sharing my screen so we can move on. Now, why do civics? Well, I think you guys covered a lot of ground, and we will return and we will cycle back to these reasons as we get a little deeper into the conversation about what exactly is civic engagement. And I think you'll see that the way that I like to talk about civic engagement will be very responsive to some of the ideas that you already put up there. So let's get back to the sharing of the old screen. All right, so we've heard a lot of good thoughts. Now, before we go any further, and we start to talk about what exactly do we mean by civic engagement, and we talk about the 3 buckets that Tom likes to talk about. Before we get into that, we need to talk about something fundamental to our discussion of civic engagement, and that is the word public. It's very important for us to deal with this concept and have some kind of understanding amongst ourselves of what this word public means. And to do that, we're going to look at a case. So this is, I call this the pay to spray case. And I'll show you a little video, and let me check to see if everyone can see it. So we'll click on it here. And let's run a little bit of it and make sure you can hear it.
Kelly's court is back in session. On the docket today, the American Dream.
Could you hear that, or is it too low, or could you could hear it? Is the volume okay? Can I turn the volume up? Volume, okay. All right, so let me turn the volume up a little bit. All right, so if everyone can hear the video and watch the video, it's about 5 or 6 minutes long. It's very self-explanatory.
Going up in flames. Charred rubble, all that's left of the Cranick family home in Tennessee. Firefighters standing and watching as flames devoured the house. Not one drop of water was sprayed on the blaze because the homeowners were late with a $75 fee for rural fire coverage. First responders started battling the inferno only when it jumped to the property of a neighbor who did pay the fee. So, did the Cranicks have any grounds to object? Let's ask our panel. Former prosecutor John Spilbor and Fox News legal analyst Mercedes Colwin. All right, so John, let me start with you. He didn't pay the fee. A deal's a deal. He could have paid it. They would have been there. He didn't do it.
This is disgusting. This was an emergency situation, Megan. This wasn't rescuing their cat from a tree. This was life and death. And I don't think that the fire department can say, hey, we had a contract and you didn't pay your measly $75, so we're going to watch. Not even like just not show up. Watch as your home burns down. That's absolutely ridiculous. They could have put out the fire, sent him a bill for 10 times that or more, and it probably would have gotten paid, and their house would have been saved. This is crazy.
Mercedes, how about it? Because, you know, they say, the Cranicks say that this had happened before with other homeowners, and the firefighters did show up and did put the fire out. So did they have grounds to sort of reasonably rely on that past conduct to expect it would happen again here?
Well, that's a great point, Megan, but we don't really know. What the fire department comes there and says they're not on the list, $75 is $75, but they also said, hey, if we don't adhere to this rule, then this entire fire department is going to be disbanded, because imagine if every homeowner said, you know what, there is this past conduct, and they do show up and they do put out the fire. They're not going to say no to us. Eventually, no one's fires are going to be able to be put out because everyone in the community won't have a fire department, and that's why they have to be so draconian. I'm sure that if there were lives in that home, they would have stepped in.
No, they wouldn't, because the reports are that there were 3 dogs and a cat. Now, those are lives
human
inside
lives,
the home.
though, Megan.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're standing there. I mean, you're telling me you're going to look at the firefighters, John, and say, my 3 dogs and my cat are dying in there right now. Could you please put out the fire? And the firefighters are really able to stand there and say, you didn't pay $75.
And apparently that's what they did. So the homeowner should have rushed himself back into the house, because then apparently a life would have been in danger and they would have turned the hoses on.
Right.
This is so, we would never have a situation where an ambulance, an EMT worker would be hovering over a nearly dead body in the street and say, hey, buddy, this ride's going to cost you $800. Are you good for it before I put you in the back of the bus?
But John,
how far could you take it? But she raises a very good point. How far could you take this, Mercedes, where you charge people for 911 and somebody calls and says, my child is choking, and they say, you didn't pay your fee?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really draconian, but it has to be. The bottom line is this. If we don't adhere to this, no one's going to be safe. There are going to be lots of these phone calls. No one's going to be there to respond to them. That's why they have to adhere, because, frankly, with all the attention that this particular article, that this show has had, you know that everyone in that community is going to be paying their $75, and that's the message. These are
yes, they're going to pay it now.
Know.
You're right, but can they sue, Jonna? Can they sue based on those past experiences where they say the fire department made exceptions, and apparently the fire chief is allowed to do that on the spot, but declined to do so?
I actually think they can, and not only can they sue, Megan, I have a feeling their insurance company could get involved in this and say, wait a minute, we're a third-party beneficiary of your little $75 contract, and you should have put the house out instead of letting it burn to the ground, and now they have to pay a much larger bill.
And yet, nonetheless, Mercedes, quickly, does he have anybody to blame but himself?
Oh, exactly right, Megan. Just pay the $75. He wouldn't have had this happen to him, and that's really the bottom line. He was on notice. He knew they weren't going to come to rescue. If he didn't pay it, just pay it.
Thanks, ladies. One final word
Thanks,
for our
Megan.
viewers. Legally, the fire department did nothing wrong. Mr. Kranick should have paid the fee. The county's policy, however, stinks. There should be a provision that allows the firefight, but with an enormous fee attached. That would encourage people to pay the fee up front and fairly penalize those who don't.
All right, that was her opinion. Now, the question that we're going to be asking you is, should the firefighters have put out the fire? Before we go into our small groups, I'm going to put up a poll. Okay, so everyone should see the poll. Yeah? Thumbs up if you see the poll. Okay, please vote. Should the firefighters have put out the fire? Yes or no? Okay, super. And you are universal. 100% of you had said that the firefighters should have put out the fire. Okay, fair enough. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to send you into small groups, and the question before the small groups will be, did the firefighters act correctly by standing by and not putting out the fire, or were they incorrect and they should have put the fire out? So there's going to be 4 groups. Groups 1 and 3 will take the position that they should have put the fire out. So this means that some of you are going to have to argue against what you just reported. Okay? Groups 2 and 4 are going to argue, no, they should not have put the fire out. They were correct. They did what they were supposed to do. They did not put the fire out, and that was right. Groups 1 and 3, they should have put the fire out. Groups 2 and 4, they should not have put the fire out. I had good conversation about this case. So as I say, we've got 4 groups, and groups 1 and 3 they should have put the fire out, and groups 2 and 4, they should not have. In other words, groups 1 and 3, the firefighters were acting incorrectly, and groups 2 and 4, the firefighters acted correctly. All right, let's get someone from group 1. Give us your top line arguments.
Okay, so we have a lot of arguments, but first and foremost, it's not hard to change the policy. The measly $75, we could easily change that. Second of all, public safety, that never would have spread if we hadn't made that negligent choice. So preventing escalation. Professional ethics. A lot of firefighters, well, all firefighters adhere to a code of ethics that emphasizes the preservation of life. So I feel like this definitely goes against the preservation of life, and property as well. And then with that, you're not building a very good community trust in emergencies. So I don't think it's right to control people by fear. We need to be committed to public service.
The fear of fire is what's happening here. Like, if I don't pay my fee, that's not a good thing. Okay, very, very good arguments. Group 2, they should not have put the fire out. They acted correctly.
Which one of us gonna take this one?
I'm gonna let you take it. I feel strongly against it.
I
And
know.
better
You start
explanation.
off, and if you want to fill in, Alan, that's okay. But what we were discussing is that if he paid the $75, there wouldn't have been a problem. The fire got put out if he would have took care of his fee coverage, and that because he literally risked not paying that $75 risked people's lives, even though the firefighters sat there and watched to make sure no one was harmed. I'm pretty sure it was just dangerous for him to not pay his coverage fee. It was dangerous for the rest of the community.
Cool. Anything else from group 2?
So from a business standpoint and taking out the emotional value of it, they charge the $75 to keep the doors open. So that's like the water company. You don't pay the water bill, they shut your water off. In their defense, from what we were told, or the the knowledge that we were given, we don't know if the guy was already in trouble or going back and forth with the fire department for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
chief had the opportunity to make that call, but he didn't, and we don't understand or know those reasons. All we know is he didn't pay us 75.
Right.
They're talking about keeping the doors open. If that fire department shuts down for lack of funding, now you've got to wait 2 counties over for the next fire department, so your property would have burnt anyway.
That's right. No fire department. No one pays, no fire department. Good point. And yeah, two counties away and maybe further. Have to go further for the services.
I apologize for having to be the bad guy, y'all. Please don't hold it against me later.
Hey, we're professionals here. All right, back to group 3. They should have put the fire out.
Yeah, so what me and Phil were talking about is they obviously should have put the fire out. I mean, the $75, it's not that much. You know, they could have paid it up front, or I looked up their little news article afterwards and they said they changed the law in Tennessee. It's now like $35 or 3,500 if you want to not pay the $75 and you just want to pay like for like a one-time type of deal.
Huh.
But it's also disrespectful for the people around you. You know, like Sarah was saying, you know, the fire could have spread all around, and I know they put it out, but there's still danger with, you know, nearby houses, people getting involved. So they should have put the fire out. That's what I think.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add from group 3? Covered the ground pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, he said everything. I just want to add that the firefighters just showing up just added more salt in the wound.
How so?
Well, they just showing up and not putting out the fire. That's like they were sort of mocking them in a way.
Right. They're there with the hose. They got the water on, and
Yeah,
I mean, basically, the guy was saying, "Just turn around.
yeah.
You got the hoses on. I'm right over here." And they said, "You're not on the list." Okay, so that's kind of like mocking him, or certainly must have been frustrating. I can imagine. All right, and group 4, they should not have put the fire out. The firemen acted correctly.
Well, we discussed the neighbor being reliable and dependable to his other neighbors and paying his bill like everybody else has to, because they're in a rural area. Depending on their water situation, you might be paying for the actual water, not for the fire department to put out the fire. And a plus is eventually it will create a richer soil. Non-payment could mean disbanding the fire department, as somebody said in the video, and it isn't justifiable to risk your life. From a firefighter's point of view, to risk your life to save, or your crew's life to save an animal. And they said no one was in the house, no humans. So those were the reasons why we feel like the fire department was justified.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So let's review some of the arguments that you have put forward. So there's sort of a moral revulsion that I detect that has some other kind of connections. Like someone said, the professional code of ethics, like a doctor or a nurse, right, is supposed to take care. That you swear that, as an oath, as a first responder, as a nurse, or as a doctor. And there's a feeling that the same for the firefighters. If there's a fire, that's kind of like your job, your duty, your sworn oath to put the fire out. So it's morally reprehensible, it felt like. And then you counter that with the argument, but what if nobody pays? So he chose to be in a place in the county that wasn't covered by the city, that was cheaper to live. Okay, so that's a choice. But the option was for an extra $75 a year, which is like someone once figured out that's like 15 cents a day or whatever it is, you would be covered. But it's like an insurance policy, you know, so you get an insurance policy and you pay and you pay and you pay and you're like, this is a waste of money. I'm in good health. And then so you cancel the policy. The next day you get hit by a car and you're in the hospital and you go, oh, snap. I'm going to go get that policy back. Are they going to give it to you? No. So it's a little bit of the same argument. The argument was, if nobody pays the $75, then will the service go away? So is it okay to get a service but not pay for it? What's the response to that from the group? You want the service, you maybe deserve the service, but you don't want to pay for it.
Well, I think that I forgot what her name was, but the blonde lady on the left was making a fair point. Like when she said this person gets hit by a car or something while the ambulance is coming through, do you ask that person, can you afford this ambulance, and then go and take them? No. And a lot of the times people don't pay their medical bills, but we still treat people. So how is this instance different from that?
So yes, that was Oh, Valeria, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that they were living in a part that was cheaper to live in, and because of that they had to pay for the fire department. But I just feel like that comes down to possibly their state or their county that they live in giving them more support, because if a person is already going into a place where it's low income based, they possibly don't have the wiggle room in their budget for those 15 cents a day, like you said, or those $75. There are people who truly cannot, they don't have anything to spare. And I just think it's ignorant, and it's sad that they decided to not help them.
So a response to the question of not treating is, well, maybe you don't have $75. So that is a true thing. So some people are living close to the bone, and as much as I might want to pay for the insurance, like I would like to be covered by Medicare or Blue Cross or whatever the health plan is that is available in Missouri and Kansas City, I just can't afford it. Now we can get into a side question of, does everyone deserve to be covered? Right? So I get a sense of feeling that everyone should be covered and their house should not burn down if it catches fire. I feel that's true for everybody in the class. If your house catches fire, someone should put it out. I feel that's a sentiment that you share, but it's unresolved about the issue of payment. Now, I think you just raised the issue, Valeria, about the finances of the community. So remember, this is a county in Tennessee. Now, the county could have made the decision that everyone who lives in our county is covered by fire insurance, by fire protection, regardless of where they live. So if you live in the town, you're covered by the fact that you pay taxes in that town. But there are these unincorporated parts of the county, and this is very common in America, that you live somewhere that isn't part of a specific town. It's what they call unincorporated. And it's cheaper to live there because of that reason. But the county could have said, we understand all this. People move around and live in different places for all kinds of reasons. But still, as a matter of principle, if you live in this county, you shall have fire protection, which means that we have to ding everybody. Everybody in the county has to pay a little bit. Okay, I'm sorry, ICK12. Go ahead.
Zoya.
I'm sorry. Change your name so I know who you are, will you?
I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out, I promise.
Okay, good.
I was just gonna say, but according to the video or whatever, not everybody had been paying their $75 and other people's houses were getting covered, and that's a problem.
No, I think that went by really fast. My understanding is, if you don't pay the $75, what would happen? You would lose, you couldn't afford the service. I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, but it was expressed in the video that there have been people who hadn't paid the $75 and their houses were on fire and their houses fires were put out. And so it looked like they drew a line in the sand, like, okay, we're not gonna put out the fire on this house, but they had been lax on
Right.
the rules
Well, that would
before.
be an inconsistency, right? That would
Yeah.
be something that the policy is not being applied properly or evenly. So there's that issue of the county could choose, or the state of Tennessee could choose. The state of Tennessee could say the same thing. We have many, many counties in our state and many, many hundreds of thousands of people living all over the place. And so we're just going to put a tax on everyone in the state of Tennessee. It's like $5 a year. You know, you spread it out over many people and you'll be able to cover. But that supposes that you don't mind paying for other people's stuff, even if it's an extra $5 a year out of your pocket, so that everyone in the state of Tennessee would be covered. You still have to agree to that and go along with it. Zoya, what do you got? Oh, there you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see now. I get it. You still have your hand up. That's why.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep that up. That's my bad. I thought it would turn off itself.
Got it. Okay, thanks. So what do people think about that? Do you mind paying for the services that other people consume? Maybe you have a little more and they have a little less.
No, that's fine.
Right. I think we already pay taxes, and if it's coming down to I'm paying to keep myself and my community safe and to support those around me, there's no problem with $5 coming out of my check to support that.
Okay, so we don't mind helping others via taxes to pay for needed services. So how about, so this is what was raised in the news video, the idea of, I don't need that service or use that service, so I won't pay for it. So for example, those of you who have children in public schools, those children are consuming the services of public education. So they're going to school, they're getting learning, there's a nurse, there's a librarian, whatever's happening, right, during the school day. And you are paying for that through your taxes. Now you could take your child out of the public school and you can homeschool them, or you could send them to a private school run by a religious institution or a nonprofit. Can you then not pay those taxes? Can you opt out? Alan is shaking his head no. Why not?
No, I got a lot across town, and there is no public schools over there, but I'm still paying public school taxes. I'm paying for the fire department that I don't take use of. I'm paying for the police department over there that never come and solve any issues because they can't find my address, which is across the street. But I'm still going to have to pay these taxes. And there are no options. You can't annex that section of town. So
no, and you can't say, like, I'm a law-abiding citizen and I never break the law, so I don't want to pay for police. Or I don't use public transportation. I ride the bicycle, or I walk. So I would prefer not to pay the part of my taxes that go to support buses and the subways or the light rail. It just doesn't work that way. So the gentleman in our case chose to vote with his feet and to leave the town and go to a place of lower taxes. And he decided not to pay the $75 for whatever reason. He didn't like it. It was too much. He never thought his house would burn. Many possible reasons. My position is that the firefighters acted correctly. They should not have put the fire out, even though his pets perished. That's on him. And the reason I say this is because we can't have a society that functions for everybody if nobody pays for it. So the lesson that I'd like to offer you is, first we got to figure out what our values are. What do we all stand for? And if we all stand for the idea that a person's fire should be put out, and that's just bottom line, if we're all in agreement on that, then we must find a way to pay for it. There's just no way around it. You may want the service, you may think it's a right, right? And you'll miss it. You're like, you know, if my house burned down, it'd be tragic. But wishes is not fishes. You got to pay for it to make it happen. Now you could decide, no, we don't think anybody has a right to, none of that. It's every man for himself. So if you can afford your own private fire department, like to have a fire truck sitting in front of your house, you know, if that's your way you want to roll, then that's your way. And you don't have to pay for anything, you know. In that world, you can imagine what kind of world that would be if everyone is for themselves alone. So the kind of civics that I'd like to do, and I hope that you'll agree with me, is that we're all in this together. That's the first agreement that we have to come to. And I am responsible for Alan. I am responsible for Mitchell and Erin. I don't even know you, but we are together. We are together, especially if I lived with you, if I was in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? But even though I'm not in Kansas City, I still say I am with you. I am for you. I care about you, Alan. If something happens to you, it would make me sad. So that's what is required. Then we can say, all right, fine, Tom, you got a big heart, but that doesn't get the check writ. So how are we going to pay for this? And that's a question that we could spend, you know, hours discussing. You know, what would be the best way to solve this issue, you know, in that community in Tennessee so that everyone is covered. But it has to start with where your values are. So here's the conclusion that I'm making. What I'm saying is your values inform and shape your politics and results in policies. It's your values first. And Alan says he feels the same way. Back at you, man. So let me be clear about what I'm saying. What's in your heart comes before you write the law, comes before the policy. And civics and politics is kind of how we sort all that out. So if you guys were the city council or the county council, say you were that I'm looking at the members of the county council of this place in Tennessee, you guys could pass a law that says in this county, every individual house is covered by the fire department closest to them. And we shall tax everyone in the county $10 a year because we have, you know, 500,000 people in the county. And that's enough to cover these places that are in the cracks, you know, that they don't belong to one jurisdiction or another. And then that would be the law of the land. And then I, as the taxpayer, you know, when I read about this, if I'm outraged, like, what? You're going to do what? You're going to make me spend another $20 a year? I'm out of here. That's on me. I can choose to leave. But if I stay, I'm kind of going along with the body politic. And now we have this new policy in place. Does that make sense? Any thoughts about that at all? You know, I'm making a pretty big assertion here. Okay. All right. Now, do you guys want to take a 5-minute break before we wrap up? We got another half an hour to go. Want to take a 5-minute break? Think so? That's good. All right. Let's do that now. It is 12:24. So let's say just at 2:30, we'll come back and wrap up with the rest of our content. Take a break for 5 minutes. All right. We're coming back from our small groups. Hope you guys aren't getting dizzy. We're sending you backwards and forwards in these groups doing Zoom, but you're probably pros at all this by now. Being COVID going on all these years, I know I've been Zooming my head off. All right. As we come back from our small group, the question on the table was, what should be in the civic heart? What is that required to do the kind of work that we want to do as community leaders, as change agents, as champions of social justice? Before we get any further into the conversation of what kind of civics do we do, how do we do civics, we're starting with the fundamentals. it's the question is why. This is really the question for today's class is really why. This is just another way to get at it. Okay. A lot of stuff, good stuff here. Let me share the screen so you can see what the groups have come up with. And we'll have someone from group one. Everyone can see the Zoom boards, right? Yeah, good to see them. Thumbs up. Good. Okay. Someone from group one.
Hi, I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
be the spokesperson this time. The question was, what is the heart of a? Can you repeat what the question was for me,
Yes.
please?
What should be in your civic heart? What kind of person do we need to be
Yeah.
for this work?
Yeah, okay. So we obviously we had a lot of things that we put down. We had some pictures, we had some artistic people in the group, we had some sticky note people, people who really like to draw, and we had responsibility, like a sense of responsibility, advocacy, a strong moral compass, a protector spirit. We had critical thinking skills, global awareness, just people who can look outside of themselves. There's servanthood. There's a bunch of hearts on here. You know what that means? Flowers. And something that I thought was really, really important, somebody in the group had said voting participation, because honestly, at least here in America, that is the only way that things do change. They start as an idea, but if people can't, there's no buy-in to the idea via voting, then things just do not happen.
Right.
But yeah, those are some of the things that we got down.
Oh, there's so much here, Zoya. So empathy, I see the word empathy. What does that mean? How do you know if I'm empathetic?
It goes back to being able to look outside of your self, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And part of being a leader or part of even advocating in civics is being able to put yourself outside of yourself because it's about the community as well. It's not just about you.
So, so, so we know leaders who have no empathy,
Yes,
and we don't like that.
it's
I agree.
yeah, no.
The kind of leaders that we're speaking about, and we're going to talk more about leadership more specifically in class two. But I feel like empathy may not normally come into the conversation of leadership, but I think what I'm hearing is it's essential.
I believe so. If you want to be effective, yes.
Okay. And we can spend like all day and night just breaking that down. Like, well, how do we be empathetic? How do you know someone's empathetic? Or give me a clue, or put it another way, what's behavior is associated? Like someone says, that guy Tom, he has no empathy because he, boop, 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 right? You
Mhm.
fill in the blank. Or you could say, that guy Tom, he's totally empathetic because he did, 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 did. And what I'm inviting people to do is as we have these conversations, fill in that blank, and then you can look at yourself and say, do I have that? Do I do that? In this case, you can ask yourself, how empathetic am I? Or is that just a word that doesn't have any meaning? Or does it say, well, yeah, I think I am I'm pretty good on that. I think I can check that box. Can you go deep? Can you go further? Anyone else from group one want to add? This is great stuff.
Yeah,
The protective
please.
spirit. I love that.
I
I
want to
really,
touch on
yeah,
it a
I was gonna
little
say I
bit.
really like some of the things that Cecilia said.
I think our team also all agree. Like I said, we all agree that we should lead with empathy and you just need to be a good person. Bottom line, you just need to have a good moral compass because at the end of the day, we have are each other. So if we cannot trust and support each other, then what is the point of, if anything, what is the quality of life at that point? But we also want to draw a line eventually so the system is not getting abused. But that is for, I guess, another conversation. But we definitely want to pick up, yeah, just
Nice.
lead with empathy.
Great. And um, a moral compass, again, is something we can stop and really break that down. And what would be the behavioral indicators of someone who has no moral compass? So you,
Mm,
someone does something and Cecilia goes, that guy, he's no moral compass. Cause why?
I just think of people who make decisions based on they don't go off of what's right and what's wrong. They go off what serves them.
Hmm.
That's what I would think of when I think of someone without a moral compass.
So
Yeah.
we can spend a lot more time on it, but I think it's important to just to sit on that for a minute. In other words, you treat everyone the same according to some standard, not like Tom gives Gustavo break because he's a cousin, but he
Right.
breaks Sarah's butt because he don't like her. It's just like idiosyncratic. You don't really know what's driving me. It's just how I feel, or my
Yeah.
personal whatever.
Yeah.
Gustavo slipped me $20 before the class started, so I'm going to give. You know what I mean? There could be collusion and bribery. You just don't know. As opposed to someone who's treating everyone the same all the time in all the situations according to the rules of whatever that we agree on. So if the rule is everyone starts the day at 9 o'clock and everyone shows up at 9, but if you show up at 9:15 without an excuse, you get docked $20. So that's the deal in our workplace. But Cecilia shows up late and she doesn't get docked. Why? Because she's Tom's cousin. That ain't right. That's not what we're talking about. Okay. Just want to be clear. It's easy to say, but sometimes, we're not sure. But I think that's a good example. I think that's a good rule of thumb to just check in and say, is this leader displaying evidence of that moral compass? That truth that there another way to put it is consistency. And I think is another way. All right. So, amazing stuff. Thank you so much. Group 2. What do you got?
So we got a compassionate future, our strength, a lot of things that's coming from the heart.
Hmm.
You know, we definitely want it all to be powerful, so we have powerful. We like to go into resources to get into where we're going with all of the other things we have on our list.
Hmm. So
That check and balance for being.
say
Who
more
posted that?
about power. How does someone know? How does someone show you their power, or how does that get played out? So you say that person is showing me power is powerful.
It can be in a good way and a bad way.
Hmm.
Like we had a lady come in and IC Stars, and she just had a powerful being of a person.
Hmm.
It wasn't in a negative form. She just had a powerful spirit,
Mhm.
and so it was looked at in a positive way. But then
So
you have someone powerful with money,
Whatever.
and their
Right.
mental state is just not as power. It don't send out the same type of power.
hmm. So there's something
You
about.
know, like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
So there's something about the person that is exuding some personality that could be very forceful, charismatic. It could be funny. They could be committed, just really, really, totally emphasizing the thing. They're very sincere and and passionate. That's another word that I see. Passion is super important in this conversation, and we can spend another hour just describing what is it about passion that's important in this conversation, because passion drives people, not profit. So if you're committed to a cause, you will walk through the wall. You won't take no for an answer. So in our work, if it was easy, they would have done it already. So the things that we're going to be talking about when we talk about your issues, if it was easy, they would have solved them, but they haven't solved them. So we have to keep working, which means you have to have passion and courage. So these are great things we can really go to town on. But let's give some space to group 3. Group 3.
Well, as you can see, ours doesn't have much artistic value, but we got straight to the point. We put passionate, compassionate, problem solver, organization skills, ethical, visionary, equality wise, unity, empathetic, dedicated. That's what we got.
Great.
be in our civic heart.
These are all great, and you see overlaps between the groups. So these things
Yes, sir.
rise to the surface, and they're present for you. And I'm not surprised, given the kind of people that are attracted to Icy Stars and the kind of people that Icy Stars wants to work with. I'm not surprised. But here's one word that we haven't seen before. Can you tell me what a vision is? How do you know someone's got a vision?
I'm gonna let Isaiah take that one.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think you need to have just an idea of what you want for the future of your community as well. So I think being a visionary is really popular and really powerful for the civic art to have.
So let's see what he said. He says to have an idea for the future. So that is in your brain. It's not here, right? Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't need you to plan for it. So in other words, the visionary sees the world as it is. It sucks. It's no good, full of pain. However, I see a world as it could be, a better world, and I see it in my brain. It doesn't live anywhere else, but I see it, and I have to explain it. So the vision becomes present only when you speak it. It doesn't do any good, Isaiah, if you just dream it and you keep it to yourself and you just mumble it to your cat. You have to tell Sarah, and then you have to tell Valeria, and then you have to tell Taja, and then they go, "What? That's crazy! I get it, man. That's awesome." Now you have communicated your vision to them, and you help them see what's in your brain. Okay, so now a visionary has to be able to communicate. And we'll talk about that later. The ability to communicate powerfully is part of this package. So wonderful stuff. We could spend the rest of the class just breaking down vision, but let's give some time now to our last group, 4. Oh, wow. Oh, whoa, that's amazing. Group 4. Wow. What do you got here? Oop, I'm not hearing you, Aaron. Ooh, that's funny. She's not muted, but I don't hear her. Can you hear her?
I hear her, Tom. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what
I
keeps
can
going
hear
on.
her.
Oh, okay. Weird. All right. Continue. Okay. Well, that's weird. Can someone, Gustavo, can you translate? Because for some reason, I couldn't hear her. I've never had that happen before.
She was sharing everything in the document. So be inclusive to all, be open-minded, advocate for yourself and others, be empathetic, encourage, be selfless for the well-being of others, be compassionate, respectful, be kind, patient, use your voice, lead with your heart and brain, empathy, involvement, understanding, service, and then the last thing is care about the people in your community.
Awesome. This is really a great list, Aaron. I'm sorry I couldn't hear you there. I don't know what's going on. Being selfless. Now, this actually is a beautiful transition to the conversation about leadership that we're going to have starting next session. So the question that I have for the group is, can you be a servant and a leader at the same time? Can you serve and lead at the same time? Anybody got a thought?
I feel like for me, those two go hand in hand. I feel like you have to serve in order to lead. I think that's, to me, that's kind of the purpose of being a leader.
Wow. I'm going to put that in the chat. You have to serve in order to lead. Does that sound counterfactual? Does that sound odd in our society? you know, when you think about the kind of leaders that we normally see. Now I agree 100%, 100%. And the kind of leadership that we want to speak about and that we're going to come back and forth in our conversation about civics is the model called servant leadership. And we'll explain it a little more in the second session, but I absolutely could concur with you, Valeria. That is absolutely my definition of a leader is someone who seeks to serve in order to lead, not the other way around. We don't lead to dominate and push our weight around and you know, put people down, and that's a leader. No, not in this world that we want to build. So that is all I have today. We're coming up on our hour. Let's have a temperature check. Thumbs up if we're like this. We like more of this. With civics is going good. Thumbs down if you want to flee, or flat if you. All right, thumbs up. Excellent. Okay. All right, cycle one. It's been a real pleasure and an honor to be in front of you this afternoon, to get to know you a little better. And we'll see you next Friday at 1 o'clock, same bat channel, same bat time. And look for the HTML newsletter in a few days. That's kind of gives us a little summary of what we talked about today. You raised a lot of points that I want to speak to. That I'll do it in the newsletter. But if anybody has anything to say before we sign out, Gustavo, you want to say anything just to close us out?
No, thank you all for your engagement and your participation. This was exciting to watch. And thank you, Tom. I'm excited about the rest of the session. So.
Can I just say this was an awesome lesson. I loved it. I was really scared going into it, but you're awesome, and I love this class. This was great.
Well, we'll let you have the last word then.